Yes.
Yeah, tell me about that.
Absolutely. I have spoken to so many shamans who feel that we are at a crossroads, that some great change, some tremendous change is coming, is looming up on our horizon. And let's not forget that the ancient Maya of Central America were fundamentally a shamanistic culture. They too made paintings of spirit beings inside caves. They too cultivated altered states of consciousness. In fact, the use of hallucinogenic plants was astonishingly widespread across Central America, and particularly cultivated by the Maya. And it's the Maya in their amazing calendar who come up with this specific warning of an end of the world, effectively. And when we translate their calendar into our calendar, as I think every listener to this show knows, we come up with the date of the 21st or the 23rd of December, 2012. Now, what is going on here is very complicated and very difficult. If you look back deep into human history and look at the ancient cultures, you find that they tell us that there have been cataclysms in the past, that great human civilizations have been washed away and destroyed, almost entirely forgotten from human memory, and that every time this has happened, human behavior has been implicated in the disaster, that the things we human beings do, bring down this disaster on ourselves. And that's what the shamans were telling me in the Amazon. Look at the dreadful things that are happening in the Amazon. The Amazon is the lungs of the world. If we allow the Amazon to be destroyed, then we are going to face a cataclysm. And the Amazon
it's happening, Graham.
And happening. It's happening in front of our eyes for incredibly short-sighted and stupid reasons. There is terrible poverty in Peru and Brazil. That poverty leads people to settle new lands, to slash down the forest, to create farms. Migrant laborers are being employed by huge international enterprises on soya bean farms. Can you imagine? They're cutting down the old growth forest of the Amazon and replacing it with soya bean farms. The soya beans to feed cattle to give us hamburgers. And after 10 years, those farms are useless because the soil only supports rainforest. It was never intended to grow soya beans. What an incredible mistake we are making. If the root cause of this problem is poverty, then let us solve that problem. The entire problem of the Amazon could be solved with just 6 months spending in Iraq. We could have the Amazon secure forever with just 6 months spending in Iraq. All that's really needed is to pay the people of the Amazon to look after it, to protect this precious treasure for the world. But instead, because of short-sighted, ignorant, greedy thinking, we are allowing this incredible resource to be destroyed. We are literally burning the lifeboat in which we all live. It's madness, absolute madness.
Caitlin from Garden Grove, California writes, have you, Mr. Graham, encountered any reports of ET, telepathic contact, during any kind of events?
Not only have I encountered such reports, but I've had such experiences directly myself under the influence of ayahuasca. And it is very commonly reported by shamans that they meet beings in their altered states of consciousness who are in flying saucers and who look very much like the Western conception of a gray, of an ET. And it was very mysterious for me on one of my ayahuasca sessions in Peru, one in particular, although it happened to me on several occasions, that I found myself in this deeply altered state of consciousness confronting a being that seemed exactly like the conventional idea of an ET. And, you know, one could argue that I had just picked that idea up from the culture, that somehow it had infiltrated my mind, and that's why I saw it. But the evidence is quite the contrary, because, as I mentioned earlier, the active ingredient of ayahuasca is DMT, dimethyltryptamine. And experiments were conducted in the early 1950s before any UFO or alien abduction had been reported, people were given a DMT and asked to comment on their experiences, and a great many of them reported being taken up into the sky, into metal objects by small beings who did painful experiments on them, exactly the same experience that would later be reported as the UFO abduction experience. Now, I resist the idea that these are straightforward extraterrestrials. In other words, that they can simply be explained as physical beings like us, but from other planets revolving around other stars elsewhere in the universe. I don't think that that's the explanation for what's going on. I think it's much more mysterious than that, and I think it has to do with transdimensional contact and the interpenetration of dimensions and the impact that intelligent beings in different dimensions can have upon us. And I do feel, and I present evidence for this, that there has been 35,000 years of contact with these other dimensions, and that it has played a fundamental part in making human beings what we are today, and that if we want to get to grips with this mystery and really want to get to grips with the ET mystery, as it's called today, and with all paranormal and supernatural occurrences, we have to deal with consciousness. We have to understand that consciousness is the medium through which we contact these things, and that human consciousness is infinitely variable, and that the receiver wavelength of the brain can be retuned, as shamans do in their daily lives using plant hallucinogens, and that this is the way for a systematic inquiry into the mystery, rather than all of us just running around like headless chickens looking for some kind of instrument that's going to measure this. We have the instrument already. It's our brains. We just need to use it in the right way.
All right, to the phones we go, east of the Rockies. You're on Coast to Coast with Graham Hancock. Hi there.
Hi, I'm Jerry from Baltimore, Maryland.
Hello, Jerry. Thanks for
Hi, Jerry.
Also, hi. Also, 20 years, by the way, in St. Louis, your hometown. I listen every night, and I hear these people talking about, well, most of the time when they're sleeping in bed and they see people, and it dawned upon me, I got narcolepsy. And a lot of the symptoms that they talk about, I have, but mine is due to narcolepsy. Now, I thought they might have narcolepsy and don't know it.
Yes, narcolepsy is another form of altered state of consciousness. It is retuning the receiver wavelength of your brain and allowing in experiences that are normally kept out by our brains.
Of course, in narcolepsy, the people just seem to fall asleep sitting at desks, no matter where. They just fade off into the sunset.
And therefore lose their connection with this daily physical life, but may gain a connection with other realms of existence in that state.
Call from Wichita wants to know, fast blast, if you build up a resistance to ayahuasca so you don't have those horrible symptoms you just mentioned.
Yes. Shamans who drink ayahuasca twice a week gradually master the vomiting and the diarrhea. I've now drunk ayahuasca 16 times, and I found on the last 5 sessions, which took place in Brazil this year, and in fact just a couple of months ago, that I was much less nauseous than I had been before. So gradually we master these symptoms. The first few sessions are often very difficult. But I have to say that the purging is not entirely unpleasant. One does have a feeling of tremendous cleanness. It's as though you've rid your body of terrible toxins that have built up over the year, and there's a tremendous sense of relief and clarity afterwards. And always the next day after an ayahuasca session, the session typically lasts for 2 to 3 hours. Always the next day, you feel very clear and very much connected to the world and very, very much alive. And I'm so confident about the medicinal and the positive values of ayahuasca that I actually took 2 of my children, they're adults, one is 22 and the other is 25, with me to Brazil to drink ayahuasca in a ceremonial setting. And we had an extraordinary experience of contact as a family, and they had amazing encounters with the ayahuasca spirit and came back transformed from this experience and very thoroughly grounded and connected to this world, but with a sense of the importance and significance of the worlds that lie beyond and that we normally cut ourselves off from.
Can you predict things telepathically? Can you get into people's minds when you're on this substance?
Yes, this has not happened to me, but many shamans report this. In fact, shamans will sometimes go on joint expeditions into the supernatural realm, into the other realm. They will meet each other on the other side.